Hello everyone, once again to this spoken English course on your channel SucceedEng. Today is day 2 and we'll be looking at subject and verb. But before we start, I just want to say that if you are somebody who speaks Hindi and want to brush up your English skills to reach new heights in your career, this video is for you. I have kept the content very friendly for Hindi learners by using the Hindi to English translation method to look at the important concepts in grammar. And I really believe that something as important as English should be available for everyone, and thus this course. But let me assure you that even grammar enthusiasts will find some useful tips to use within these videos for teaching and other purposes. All right then. So we've covered subject in its various forms on day 1, and today we will look at subject and verb. So the most basic rule to remember when dealing with subject and verb is the SSPP rule. And the SSPP rule says that a singular verb should be used with a singular subject and a plural verb should be used with a plural subject. The most important rule to remember when dealing with subject and verb. So a boy sings and not a boy sing. Two boys sing and not two boys sings. A boy is singular and thus we have used the singular verb sings. Two boys, plural subject, and thus the plural verb sing. It is also important to remember here that a verb becomes singular when we use an S or ES to it. And a noun, when attached with an S or ES, becomes plural. For example, computers or tables, etc. A lot of people make the mistake of saying something like two boys sings because they feel that sings is plural as a verb, but that is not the case. As a verb, sings is singular. It is nouns that become plural when we add an S or ES to them. Okay, let's look at collective noun a little bit. Our first subject-verb agreement is going to be related with collective nouns. So here at this point, it is important to look at just the definition of collective nouns. So nouns are words naming people, animals, places, and things. And collective nouns are in a class all their own. And once you have looked at some examples, you'll be much more able to identify a collective noun when you see them. So words like class, herd, jury, team, army, council, family, group, these are all examples of collective nouns. Audience. So let's look at the first rule, connected with collective nouns. So which of the following sentences is correct? India has defeated Australia in the finals, or India have defeated Australia in the finals? You will notice that when a commentary is going on, a cricket commentary, that is, or when you hear a news telecast about the match that was played last night. A lot of times we see the plural verb used with the names of teams. So India have defeated Australia in the finals is more often used than India has defeated Australia in the finals. And initially, it will seem to be an incorrect usage because India is a unit, a single unit. Why then are we using a plural verb have with it? Well, here is the thing. Collective nouns such as these are used both in the singular and plural sense, and therefore they can have both singular or plural verb accompanying them. So if I say India and I mean to refer to just the team, just the singular unit that Team India is, then I better use has rather than have. But if I say India and I mean all the 11 players playing within Team India, then I better use India have defeated Australia in the finals. And during cricket commentaries or news telecast, the broadcasters and news presenters are mostly referring to all the players within the team. It's a team game, cricket, as we know. Okay, so let's look at some more examples. The bunch of keys is very shiny. A group of experts thinks so. So in the two sentences, we have the collective noun bunch or group followed by of plus the common noun. And the common noun in these cases is keys and experts. So in such sentences, use only a singular verb. So it'll be wrong to say the bunch of keys are very shiny or a group of experts thinks so. Some more examples. So there is a series of unfortunate events. A flock of sheep is going with the shepherd. A section of workers is causing trouble. A batch of trainees is ready. Let's look at rule number 2. This is connected with weights and measures. So $100 is a small amount. 50 tons of rice was imported from India. In such sentences, the verb is always singular because they indicate weights and measures. And I will go a step further and say that it's not just with weights and measures that we use a singular verb. We also use the singular verb when we refer to time and distance, for example. So if I say 2 hours are a long time, I would be making a grammatical mistake. The correct sentence would be 2 hours is a long time because we are referring to time. And similarly, if I say that 5 kilometers are a long distance, I'd be wrong because I'm referring to distance there. So it should be 5 kilometers is a long distance. So with weights, measures, time, distance, use a singular verb. Okay, let's look at rule number 3, verb with pronouns. So always use the verb based on the number and person of the pronoun. For example, Everyone has reached office. None has sent the email. All have arrived. Who says what remains to be said? All are happy. All is well is a good motto, and so on. Let's look at rule number 3, verb with pronouns, a little more. Neither of the two boys has called. None of the 5 questions is answered. Either of the 2 students has passed. One of the 5 boys has not come. These pronouns are singular and should have a singular verb. If you find either at the start of the sentence or neither without their not or, use a singular verb. And although there is a trend of using the plural verb with noun nowadays, it is really not required. Okay, let's look at verbs with who, that, and which. The boys who study hard learn easily. The product which I ordered was defective. The documents that you gave me yesterday are lost. In such sentences, the verb is determined by whether there is a singular or a plural subject before who, that, or which. So if you look at sentence number 1, the boys who study hard learn easily, you can see that before who we have boys, which is a plural subject, and thus we have used a plural verb, study. The same rule has been applied with the other 2 sentences, product being singular subject before which has received a singular verb, documents being a plural subject has received a plural uh, verb are in the 3rd sentence. Okay, let's look at some more examples. This is one of those movies that are very inspiring. He is one of those men who do not give up. So in such sentences, it is the subject stated or indicated after those that determines the verb. One of the mistakes that people make is that they consider in such sentences the word one to be the subject, but it is actually what's after those that determines the verb. So what we can say is singular noun or pronoun plus who plus a singular verb, and plural noun or pronoun plus who will have a plural verb. So depending on whether you have a singular or plural noun or pronoun before who, uh, you will choose your verb. And of course, when I say who, I mean it could also be that and which. So we can also say that this is one of those movies which, yeah, so you can say that this is one of the movie which inspires me. So it's not just who, but who, that, which we can put there after the plus of singular noun, plural noun. Okay. All right. Rule number 5, sequence of pronouns. I consider this as a rule that a lot of people ignore. You, he, and I are going to see him tomorrow. This is a sentence with the correct sequence of pronouns in it. So in English, first we use the second person, then the third person, and finally the first person in a sentence. This is the correct sequence, also known as the 2-3-1 formula. Some examples: he and I are going to watch the match. You and I are ready. You and he are not convinced. Let's look at rule number 6, pronouns with and as well as. He and I are thinking about it. He as well as I is busy. So both as well as and mean or in Hindi. The thing to remember is that if nouns and pronouns are connected with and, then the verb is always plural. However, if they are connected by as well as, the verb is determined by the first subject in the sentence. And I know it sounds pretty awkward to say he as well as I is busy. You might just have the person look back at you and wonder if you're from the 18th century. It's pretty awkward. So in order to make it more contemporary and more modern, you can use the following alternative. You can also say, instead of saying he and I, he as well as I is thinking, you can say he is thinking and so am I. Instead of saying he as well as I is busy, you can say uh, he is busy and so am I. Let's look at rule number 6, verbs with either or, neither nor. Let's start with a few examples. Either you or I am responsible for this. Neither you nor he knows anything about it. In such sentences, the verb agrees with the subject closer to it. And with such sentences, it always helps to remember the correct sequence of pronouns. So do remember the 2-3-1 formula that we learned in the last slide. Rule number 7, verbs with adjective and clause. The poor are humble. Travel without a ticket is an offense. If an adjective is the subject in a sentence, the verb will always be plural. And I can connect this with what we learned in video number 1 when we were discussing subject and its forms. And if you remember, one of the rules that we looked at was the rich and the poor have equal rights to vote. So there, of course, we had two different adjectives connected by and thus we had a plural verb. But if you have just one adjective as the subject in a sentence, please use the plural verb as well, because you're referring to the whole class of people. But in case of a clause, the subject, if clause is a subject in a sentence, then the verb will always be singular. So to travel without a ticket is an offense. Okay, so now we are done with this topic of subject and verb. It's about time that you pause the video and match A with B, just to refresh all that we have learned in this video. All right, so that's all, folks, from my end. Please do like, share, comment, and subscribe.